One of the greatest rabbis who ever lived is a man named Akiva, short of Jesus, that is. He died in 134 in the Barkokva revolt, so he lived about the same time Jesus did. And if you were a Jewish student, you picked up a copy of the Mishnah, you go figure out what the Mishnah is. If you picked up a copy of the Mishnah and began to read, you would discover that Akiva is the most quoted rabbi in all of the Mishnah. He lived in a little town called Capernaum. Capernaum, actually, but we say Capernaum because we're not actually Jewish. So we're going to say Capernaum because it's a lot easier for us to say. You don't have to cough something up in the process. He's walking along the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee, headed home. He's supposed to take a slight left to turn into town, but it's dusk. He's quoting the text of Isaiah, not really paying attention to his journey, and he misses his turn and just keeps on walking straight. He walks up to the edge in the twilight. He walks up to the edge of a Roman fort, a Roman garrison, because this is an occupied country. The story says that because it's a little bit dark, out of this dusk, in his rehearsing of the text of Isaiah, he hears a voice cry out, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He was kind of startled. He looks up and not really sure where he is. He thought he was going home. He sees this fort, this wall. He's confused, so he does what a rabbi does naturally. You ask him a question, and what does a rabbi do? He asks you a question back. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He says, "What?" Buys a little time. Here comes the voice again. "Who are you? Why are you here?" It dawns on Akiva. I missed my turn. But he's a rabbi, and he's not just a rabbi. He's a brilliant rabbi. Just like that, it all falls into place. He knows where he is, what he's doing, and he turns the table. This poor little slug of a soldier sitting on this wall had no idea what he had done by asking a question, and Akiva turns around and he says, "Let me ask you something. What do they pay you to stand on that wall up there and ask me these questions?" Now the Roman soldier's sort of caught. 5 drachma a week. Drachma, day's wage. 5 drachma a week. Akiva says, "I'll pay you double to stand outside my door and ask me those questions every morning. Who are you? Why are you here?" If you want to know what Narrow Gate is, if you want to know what we do in this campus experience, if you want to know the core of who we exist to answer 2 questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Of course, most of the guys, when they look at each other, they phrase it differently. It's like, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" So, of course, some guys have, "Who am I and why am I here?" There's a lot of confusion in this asking back and forth, but the bottom line is this. If you can introduce someone to identity, you can introduce someone to hope.